Hi, this is Peta, and I'm answering a request by a friend who asked if I would share some of my background in regards to dreaming. I mentioned to her recently that I had training, and she was curious and said, "Do you feel comfortable talking about this?" And I said, "Sure." Nobody ever asked, so yeah, I would love to talk about it. And this has started for me as a child. I mean, growing up, I always had very vivid, intense dreams, and always had a knack for dream analysis, even as a child. I remember once hanging out with a college student in a psych class, and she was talking about dreams that people were having in class, and I was interpreting them, and she said, "Well, that's how the professor interpreted them," and I was this little kid. So when I got older and I started started viewing more connections between my dreams, some of them being prophetic, some of them being very symbolic, and I was just trying to, deal with the material and understand what it all meant and how I could interact with it. Um, I was led over time, and this would have been in the mid 90s. I met a woman, a psychic, who would come into the cafe where I worked, and she would give readings to folks. Really lovely person, and she extended to me a training. She said she would teach me how to access these abilities that I had naturally and work with them. And she gave me a book, which I can highly recommend. It's called The Wonderful, Magical, Mystical World of Dreams. It's a big purple book, and it has a basic um, guide for universal concepts around dreams, because sometimes, and this is an important takeaway I had from the book, you might dream of a dog, and a dog has sort of universal meanings, say like loyalty, for instance, and humankind's best friend. But then the dog also has personal meanings. So if you'd ever been attacked by a dog, you dreaming about a dog would be very different than someone who had a very positive experience with dogs, loved dogs, would dream about dogs. So there's layers of meaning to any dream. And it also followed the school of thought that everybody and everything in the dream is you. There are aspects of self, whether accepted or rejected, and that you're dealing with these in this realm, because you can deal with a lot of very complex things very concisely within dreams. Something that's harder for people to kind of work out within conversation. If you think about, say, a movie that you would watch, within 2 hours, you're going to see your characters maybe, be born and grow up and go off to school and get married and fall in love and have their career and then go through whatever crisis they do at the point of the movie. And then at the end of the movie, maybe they're old and they'll die. So it's like that. It's a condensed way of looking at time and using symbolism to help unpack like much larger concepts, themes, and ideas and thoughts. So I started initially. The recommendation is just start jotting down your dreams, which I did, and then really taking the time to go through and look at the complex meanings. And after doing this exercise for a couple months, and I started realizing that what was actually occurring, which wasn't how it was framed, but what was actually occurring is I was learning the language of my subconscious. I was learning, and it was being taught to me, and I was being able to communicate better with it, to the point where when I didn't take long, actually, but as I worked with it over the next few years, I started being able to just kind of wake up and have the meaning right there. I wouldn't have to do the analysis or anything like that. I would wake up and I would have knowing. So there's a lot I can say about that. There are a lot of dreams that I had. Meanwhile, at the same time, I was reading a lot of Carlos Castaneda, and in the books they also talk about dreaming in regards to, it's similar to how the Aboriginals in Australia talk about it, that our dream realities are actually realities in and of themselves, no more, no less real than our waking life. And that part of spiritual ascension and growth is about coming to that recognition of seeing the overlap of these worlds. So I'll tell one story, which I think is probably one of my more remarkable dreaming stories. I have several, but there's one in particular because this is sort of pre-internet, where you could find people easily. Back in the day, I'd lost contact with a friend of mine who moved out west, and he determined that he was just going to hitchhike around the West Coast and be homeless and camp and do all this sort of stuff. I'd lost touch with them, and I really wanted to get connect again, and I wasn't sure how to do that. I didn't really know anyone who knew where he was or how to get a hold of him. So I started incubating the dream as I'd been trained, and I would just go to sleep every night and just ask like, where's my friend? Like, where is he? Where is he? Can you show me where he is? And I was given lots of dreams with like ships and harbors, and and I was on the water and I'm looking up at these big ships and this port, and I didn't recognize any of it. So I mean, I learned later it was accurate, but I couldn't decipher what I was actually looking at. And as I got more frustrated with the dream material, the dreams shifted, and suddenly I started dreaming about New York, and I had all these dreams about New York, and it was really weird. And I was like, maybe I should go to see my friends in New York. Who knows? So I booked a ticket, and just based on this dream, and went to go visit some friends without really an agenda, other than just to show up and find out if there was information. And I didn't necessarily anticipate that I would find him there, and I didn't necessarily anticipate that anyone there would know where he was. But as it turns out, when I came to New York, and the friend that I was staying with, she was asking me, she's like, hey, do you want to get a hold of some old friends of yours? I've got people's phone numbers. Just tell me who you want to see. And she's going down this list, and I'd say yes, I'd love to talk to him, but no, I don't really want to connect with her. And there was actually a friend and an ex of mine, and I really didn't want to connect with her. I didn't have anything against her, but we had a friendship, but it wasn't really close anymore. And she wasn't one of the people that I really was seeking to visit with, since I had a short period of time. But as it turned out, one of the phone numbers that I had rang through, and she answered. So remember, this is also landlines back in the day. This is 1997, and turns out she was housemates with another friend of mine. I had no idea. And immediately upon answering the phone, she said, "Your friend Nicholas is looking for you, and I have his address and phone number." So it was on a postcard, and he's just like, "Have you seen my friend? If you do, give him this address." So I took that back home with me. At the time, I was living down south, and got a hold of him. And as a result, next thing I know, I'm out in Oregon. I'm visiting Portland, Oregon for the first time. That was in the dream. All the ports that I was seeing, that was there. I just didn't know what I was looking at. And we reconnected. I ended up having a great time, and I ended up living in Portland, off and on for about 10 years. So that's probably the coolest thing that ever happened, was finding my friend. And there's still imagery from that dream, just very simple imagery from those dreams that still surfaces today. In fact, the last time that dream came into this reality, it became something that I could actually witness, was in about 2011, 2012. So only a few years ago. So sometimes this dream material really has life, and not all things are revealed very quickly. I still work with dream material, much more along the lines anymore of kind of waking up and having the answer. But definitely sometimes dreams give me material to meditate on. And so anymore now, the imagery and the things that occur are things that I will then actively bring into my daily meditation in order to help me settle internal conflicts or solve problems. That's kind of it in a nutshell. I think dreaming is a powerful tool. I've used it to collaborate with friends. I had friends that we used to attempt to dream together. We would, say, hey, I'm going to set an intention when I go to sleep tonight. We can share a dream. And we've done that. I've walked through people's dreams. This one ex of mine, he was going, what were you doing in my dream the other night? And I told him what his dream was, because I basically opened a door and just sort of walked through. And he was like, yeah, it was weird. I saw you, it was like out of the wall, this door came, and you came walking through, and you kind of waved, and then another door appeared, and you walked through it. I had another instance where there was a friend of mine, and we were attempting to dream together, and she had a dream about her boyfriend. And when I came to work, we worked together, and I saw her the next day. I'm like, hey, that finally happened. We've been trying for months to dream together. And I said, finally happened. And she said, really? And I said, yeah. And I said, how about I tell you what I saw, and you can tell me if it's accurate. And I told her what happened in her own dream. And she was, whoa, okay, so this is a real thing. This really happens. And I'm like, yeah, it's a real thing. It's changed how I interact with dreams, definitely. And it's given my dreams more purpose and meaning. And for that reason, I'm very thankful. So for anyone who wants to explore it, I could totally recommend that book. Um, and follow the book, and start writing stuff down, start picking it apart. And I think within a short period of time, your subconscious and your conscious mind will begin communicating more clearly. You can get answers to questions and things that you have. Now, as far as like prophecy and prophetic dreams, my understanding, as I've been taught, is they tend to be very mundane, and that tends to be the truth. Like the stuff that I would dream about that was prophetic was kind of boring. Few exceptions. I had before 9/11, I had a very powerful literal and symbolic dream 2 days before it had happened. And so at the time when I found out about it, I was like, yeah, I already knew. I mean, and I was like, that totally made sense because based on the dream that I had, because there was this big hole where the World Trade Center used to be. So dreams are important. Dreams can save your life. Dreams can connect you with loved ones. Dreams are what we make of it. So that's what I have to say about dreams. Hope you're doing well. Bye bye.